In a world constantly in motion, where skies tell stories untold. One channel has the eyes to see beyond the visible. Welcome to Werx. Join us as we track and analyze the movements that shape our reality. From geopolitical shifts to the silent ops that never make the news. Dive deep into this unique perspective where we decode the signals above and reveal the stories they hide. Be part of a community that values truth and transparency, where every flight tells a story. Subscribe and join the mission. Stay aware, stay prepared, and stay vigilant with Werx.
All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Opsmic here. It's going to be your Sitrep. It is 10/10/2024, and we're coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. As we get into the deets, we're going to talk about the aftermath from this storm. I'm going to show you some patents that are going to blow your mind when it comes to weather modification. Ain't no denying it. We got the documents. And what you witnessed happening in the Gulf of Mexico between Helene and this latest one, Milton, I'm telling you straight up, weather modification, they are weaponizing this weather. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to give you the data points. Also, I did run it to ground. We know who it was that did the little prop wash over the people up in North Carolina, and I will tell you the name of the National Guard, etc. So we'll get into all of that here in just a minute, and then let's just kick it off here. We jump off into our mini. And oh, by the way, if you would hit that like, subscribe, and bell for notification. And then regardless of what platform you're on, and if you would, join us over here on Patreon. There's a lot more stuff over here than anywhere else. This is where I put it all. Okay. All right. So we're sitting at around 312 military aircraft up right now. We've got a storm system that is kind of blown off the East Coast now. It's already been across Florida, and it's just kind of the remnant is out here in the Atlantic. The interesting piece, and I'll show you when we're done here, because we're going to clean the slate, and then we're going to look at the NEXRADs firing off because they're doing it yet again. But nonetheless, let's take a gander. Let's kind of start to peel this back a little. Now, notice you got a lot of H-47s. There's 67 H-47s, H-60s. And we'll get to the H-47s in just a minute. So 67 H-60 Blackhawks in the air. And you will start to notice that there is an abundance of them right here over the area that was hardest hit. This stuff is in the Panhandle. A lot of it may be just coming back because I would imagine they vacated just based on the tanker activity. All right, and then look at this weird, see these NEXRADs, the way they seem to be blooming, right? But no real weather there. They're just doing something weird, all right? All right, so there's your H-60s. Let's take in the EC-45s on top of that. Again, the Panhandle area, I would not pay too much attention to that other than I say that. But if you look at the path of Helene, this actually could be tied to that because this is an area that got hit really hard. It's getting zero attention from the media perspective. North Carolina is getting all of the attention. All right. Now let's go down to H-47s. I got 12 of those up, and you can see that also just added to. So you look at the helo activity over the United States, and it is very abundant. All right. Quite a bit. Look at down here in Southern California. Mercy. There's a lot of stuff going on. On screen, 123 helicopters. All right. So let's take these away. Let's go look at the air refuelers, KC-135s, 20 of those. Again, you can really see what the NEXRAD is doing here. Kind of strange looking, isn't it? Little hole in the center. I don't really get what is going on there, although that is directly below that tanker. Okay. But probably not related. All right. Let's go KC-135s and 76200 Pegasus. Something happening out here off the West Coast on the left coast. And then we got something definitely happening up here. I'm going to show you in just a minute. Very strange activity But you're going to have a lot of aircraft that were down here, especially like MacDill, et cetera, that flew out, that are going to be flying back in now that the storm's passed, and once they get everything cleaned up and they can safely land and taxi, they will be doing so. All right. Okay. Again, 320. That's a pretty good elevated number, but as always, it's not the what, or not the how many, but the what, right? A couple R-135s right here. I'm pretty sure, not 100%, but I'm pretty sure you got a Q9 drone in that same neck of the woods. You see a little Q9 below it. That one right there, I'm not 100%. Like I said, I think, and I'm just recalling this off of memory, but I think that may be a nuke sniffer. And then, of course, there's a Top Cat, which is SIG Intel up here. But again, I'm going to show you something. They're looking for some kind of strange activity up here in North Dakota. I'm just going to put that out there. And then you can see this little Q4 drone off the East Coast and off the eastern seaboard at altitude 49,950 feet. So that's pretty high climber. All right. Okay. Start off with the watch list. These yellow circles, that is going to be intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, whether it's a high altitude balloon, military intel balloon, whether it is R-135, E-6, drones, AWACS, anything, right? Could be any. Now that B-703 I showed you down in Louisiana, that's an air refueler. All right, there's an E-6. 2 E-6s up, 2 R-135s up. That one right there, a little Noah bird. There's your R-135s. And then that super high one there is, that's going to be an intel balloon. Okay, we'll get over to Europe, and those are going to be the Germans, and they are doing the same thing. Those are intel balloons, and then those are the Ruskies. So let's move on over here to the intelligence side of the house. Last 3 days, very weird flight patterns. Again, this is just, I think they're just gathering either SIG Intel or something. It's not the usual intelligence back and forth shoelace type of stuff. This is almost like just kind of flying to these different points, gathering data. So, and then you get over to Europe, and it's going to be a lot of the Brio stuff. You can see them looking very closely at Libya, over the Mediterranean, and then all up in Israel's business. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well, so just stand by for that. And then, of course, your drone activity. You notice, again, Mediterranean. I think the United States is trying to just have a total bead on anything and everything that's going into the Mediterranean. And then you can see the low altitude ones there in Turkey, and this little bit of work over Israel. Nothing to the north, which is a little odd. I expected to see something. Southern California and then up here to the border. But see this kind of weird flight pattern? That's a little unusual for the Q9. But we've got an R-135 that's doing the same thing. So they're looking for something in North Dakota. Okay. And nothing really there. Just a little blip over Japan. All right. This is going to be your AWACS. And just notice they're looking at the southern border very closely. They're looking out at the Gulf of Mexico very closely. This is going to be an aircraft that is looking for nukes, that also has the ability to do man in the middle, like SIG Intel type of thing. They do air traffic control if they need to. They can do a lot. This is a multi-faceted platform, all right? And then you can see those perfect circles. When they start doing that, that's man in the middle, all right? Just jumping right in there and grabbing whatever they can. SIG intelligence being looking at probably cell phone traffic, even in the Mediterranean, yes, and ship traffic too, for that matter. Okay, look at this R-135. First, we're going to start off over here. You can see them over south of Crete. You can see them doing their regular leg work there over in Europe. And then notice this. I'm going to kind of zoom in a little because this is where it looks kind of strange. That's where we see this activity happening in North Dakota, where the Q9 drone is very active. Now there's your R-135 doing the same thing, and then you can see some broken traces headed out to Asia. So that's probably into Okinawa if I had to guess, but we didn't see it. Broken trace, right? And then let's look at the E6 TACAMO, take charge, move out. It's talking to your submarines, and you can see them off the left coast, over the center of the U.S., pretty busy off the East Coast and then up to the north, but then a very weird, strange pattern. I don't see sixes up here too often, right in the exact same area that we saw the drone and the R-135, North Dakota. Okay. All right. Now let's talk air refuelers, because this is going to just paint the picture. 3 days. Granted, we got a lot of movement because of hurricane traffic and a lot of aircraft that are going to be bugging out of Florida. So you can see the pattern set up. Center of the U.S., very, very chock full, very busy, 222 flights. And then notice we get over to Europe and you'll just see the heavy traces coming into the UK. And then you can see them doing little marshalling patterns there, kind of northern France and then up into Finland, right? So we have kind of spread out in terms of the tanker activity, but again, good indicator of fighters, right? Kind of a weird pattern how they come down right over the Suez, then they take a hard left towards Israel, then they break right and go over Saudi. Weird. All right. Let's get into the news and some of the stories. We're talking hurricane here for a minute. I do want to show you, this is where we are currently. You can see this thing ramped up. Look here. This, I just pay attention. So we'll come back to it if we need to. But started out as a little depression. It kind of hung out in this area for 3 or 4 days. And then all of a sudden, it was like, it was just churning, not really moving, doing much. It was just a disturbance. Kind of started forming into a storm. It went from a 1 that briefly, and then all of a sudden 3, 4, 5. So between here and here, its thing strengthened rapidly. In fact, it was so rapid that they were meteorologists out there. This guy John Morales, who is a hurricane dude, okay, was getting emotional on NBC talking about the storm and how fastly it was intensifying. Never seen anything like it. This thing grew 50, or should I say it dropped 50 millibars in just a few hours, which is unprecedented. Well, we'll get back into this. I'm going to leave this part here, all right, because I'm going to show you why this intensified, okay? Now, you get over to Florida, all these colors that you see in here, that's power outage, right? So the power is out for a lot of Floridians right now. This is the latest that's out here. It's back to a 1. It will more than likely, if I had to guess, probably reform out here, but I don't see any indication that they are flying out here to check it out, all right? I don't think they really care. I think they feel like these patterns are going to keep it off of the United States. Well, then we go back to, this NORAD stuff, and let's just do a stop and a burn. Just so you can see the weather piece of it, all right? This is probably, whatever's going on here is probably why this is not, they're not worried about it coming back here. Just thinking, all right, out loud. Okay, so reduce that. This is where we are. And then they're still reeling up here. Now, I mentioned the other day, we talked about the amount of water volume. We'll look at that here in just a minute. Before we get too deep into the hurricane thing, one thing I did want to point out, if you have not done so, you need to go over here to Candace Owens' channel on YouTube, and you need to watch this video. It's called I Spoke with Kamala's Uncle, right? She's been chasing down the genealogy of, Bob Marley, all right? Well, let's just call her who she is, right? Kamala, okay? If you vote for this lady after watching this video, you need to get your head checked because you are voting for a pathological liar. This woman, when it comes to her background and everything that she's about, is just straight up a liar. If her mouth is moving, she's either doing one of two things. She's either asking you for money to support her campaign, or she's lying to you about something. You can watch all of her interviews, and she hems and haws every single time, never answers a direct question, deflects it 100% of the time, and only goes on shows that are super friendly to her, that aren't going to challenge her, they're going to throw her softballs. So anyway, go watch this video. Again, it's Candace Owens, the best thing you'll ever see. And oh, by the way, if you haven't figured out, Kamala Harris, she's the only VP ever in our history to visit an abortion clinic. Very important to her. Now, if she was actually an African-American woman, let me tell you, she'd have a little bit of a hard time with this. I don't know how you could have a clean conscience knowing the data that we know when it comes to African-American women and that they are on the leaderboard when it comes to murdering babies, okay? Look at this. 37% of all abortions are African-American, all right? Those are black babies. Now, you tell me how you are for the people that you're representing, supposedly, that really isn't. She's actually Indian, but and how you would be able to go to an abortion clinic knowing that they're in here killing your people. I can't do it. I just don't get my head around it. Just speaks volumes of who you're dealing with here, right? The queen of lies. All right. Let's move on. We'll get over here to this piece. Now we're going to back into the hurricane thing because I got ahead of myself, but I'm going to show you some things. We already talked about this. Notice the date has been extended. I don't know why and or how, because the aircraft that we were tracking has left and vacated the area back to Germany. But this right here, this is the German Aerospace Center for Atmospheric Research. They are the ones that were down here messing around with the weather in Barbados when Helene strengthened and came right on through and just went boop, hard right straight into where it went, dropping 40 trillion gallons of water, right? 40 trillion. Now, let's go over here. Let's just take a look at some headlines for a brief minute, and we'll get into some of the other details. Now, here is the difference. Look at the volume of water, okay? When you start talking about the amount of water that took place, I mentioned it the other day in my last video, that Helene was 40 trillion gallons of water. This is Milton, 31.83 billion gallons of water. Yeah, I mean, it sounds a lot, but when you start talking about 40 trillion versus 31 billion, ain't no comparison. Not even remotely close to the same storm, although it was pretty bad, right? Okay. So let's continue on. I'm going to go back over here to the mini. We're going to get into, I just want to point out that the Germans were here. All right. Now, this is the Germans over the last, well, since hurricane season began, but in the last couple of weeks, Cape Verde. If you're familiar with Cape Verde Island, that is where all the hurricanes form and come out. All right. And you can see they are there. Now, wait a minute. That's the French. My bad. They were there too. This is the Germans. I got too many buttons here, folks. All right. Look at this now. This is them over Barbados. Okay. Little perfectly round circle. And then this is them, Cape Verde. Same place the French were in the last 2 weeks, actually the last 10 days. And then they boogied back to Germany. So Cape Verde, that's where all the hurricanes form. They come off of that African coastline, and that's where they become storms, and then they get cruising across the Atlantic, and they end up coming here in the U.S. Now, weird patterns over Germany. So if you're in Germany, just know they're doing the same thing to you, okay? Not a coincidence that these are the same two countries, the United States and Germany, that formed NASA, all right? All right, so you got that one. Get your head around it because they are definitely in on whatever was going on there. And it looks like they're coming back since this thing is now extended to the 10th, even though they left about 3 or 4 days ago. In fact, they left right after Helene. All right, look at this. Hurricane Milton. Now, we just talked about Helene, all right, and we're talking a little bit about Hilton. I showed you the path and how it just ramped up. Look at this. It says Hurricane Milton is setting all sorts of Atlantic hurricane records. You get down, right? It's Hurricane Center. This is the update, the latest one before it actually downgraded. But look, it reported to reach 180 miles an hour with a minimum pressure of 897. That's pretty low. In fact, that is very close to the record, all right? And it's ranking one of the top 10 most powerful Atlantic hurricanes on record, all right? This thing intensified, like I said. It dropped 50 millibars in just a few hours, which is absolutely insane. And why would a meteorologist be weeping over what he was witnessing unless he was kind of, he knew what they were doing? Now, it says here that their initial wind speed is set at 135 knots, which is 80 knots increase in 24 hours. right? And then it only eclipsed by Wilma in 2005 and Felix in 2007. Now you talk about those, right? You go, oh, this is interesting. Note the dates, okay? Because now I want to show you some things. Let's go back over here to this side. And I'm going to show you something that is going to, pardon my French, it's going to piss you off. And it's going to make you extremely mad because they're lying to you, right? You see, and I'm going to come back to this one in just a second. You remember MTG talking about the fact that weather modification, and Biden just came out and said she's absolutely crazy. There's no way we're not modifying weather, blah, blah. These are kooks, whatever he had to say about us truthers out there. Look, right here, every one of these, and I have vetted them, and I'm going to show them to you here in just a minute. Every single one of these are a U.S. patent for weather modification. And you can go down, the numbers are there. You just type in U.S. patent, go to Google, U.S. patent, and that number, and start looking for yourself. Look at some of these. Earliest one, there's one, 1962. It was a patent, a method of artificially influencing the weather. Well, they got better over time. 2001, they had the ability to control hurricanes and tornadoes through a device. So what is that device? I don't know. And then you go September 11, 2012. Right now, you're starting to see 2001, 2012. You read about Wilma in 2005, Felix in 2007. They don't miss an opportunity, right? And this one here in 2012 says the method for decreasing the intensity and frequency of tropical storms or hurricanes. That's decreasing. And then 2013, right? It says apparatus and method for initializing the formation of tropical cyclones. Now that would be Pacific, right? And then another one, a method of influence and direction of travel of hurricanes. And then one down here below, there's several others, right? But this one talks about typhoons and tornadoes, et cetera. So then the very last one down there on the bottom. Again, this is all patents that exist today, all right? So we go back over here. I'm going to pop them up because I pulled the thread on these, and they are real, okay? Method for decreasing the intensity or frequency of tropical storms or hurricanes. This as the abstract. Modification tropical storms and hurricanes by mixing the upper layer of a section of a body of water with water from a lower section of the body of water. Rapidly mixing the warmer upper layer with cooler lower layer cools the surface of the water, thereby reducing the amount of heat energy available to fuel the intensity and movement of storms. And then they say, basically, they just keep going, all right? And then you can see the designs and the drawings. Here are the documents, all right? Then you got this one here, a method to influence the direction of travel when it comes to hurricanes. In like manner, the winds intersect and deflect each other in space. We can intersect and deflect the hurricanes and storms at the area of thrusting between their steering winds and their outer edge, with blasting explosive waves of non-nuclear high-power propellant fuel missiles thrown in vertical, alignment against the routing of the steering wind current. Just absolutely insane. First, for testing, 300-pound missile thrown, adequate, equipped air vehicle for missiles launching. Like this just goes into all kinds of stuff, and they show it. They actually, look, they demonstrate it. So there's your patent. Here's the guy that invented it, and there's the documents. Like I said, every single one that I just showed you over here on this list right here, that's them. Okay. All right. There's one of them again. This is just a hurricane and tornado control device. And it gets into all the details around it. Okay. So yes, they are 100% manipulating the weather. 100%. I went to the wrong screen there. Like I said, I got too many buttons, too many things going on. All right, look at this. Biden-Harris admin used FEMA funding for illegal immigrants. Now, this lady is she is right there in line with Kamala in terms of her lying, but she came out and said basically that they were just baiting her. U.S. House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre recently told reporters it was categorically false that FEMA funding has been used to support illegal immigrants in the United States. Blah, blah, blah. Do you see the pattern here, folks? They will lie to your face and not blink an eye. They will straight up tell you, whatever it is they want to tell you, and they have no qualms at all about lying to you. Everything that Harris says, straight up lie. There's not a truth that ever comes out of that woman's mouth. Now look at this. Post-Millennial cited recent reports that accuse FEMA of providing $641 million in funding for illegal immigrant shelters in places like Washington, D.C., San Jose, California, Salt Lake City, Utah, etc. Note the locations. All right. This right here, they just debunked everything she said. Nobody will ever fact check her, right? All right. So let's see, as I did dance around a little bit, this is some of the footage there from Florida. You can see Milton as it goes in. So again, the FEMA piece, right? They're going to tell you they're out of money. All these people that have this stuff that just happened, they're flooded to no end. They lost everything. Their insurance isn't going to cover it, and they'll never recover from it. They'll have to walk away, most of them, or either that or drain their savings. But look at that. You got boats in parking lots, et cetera. So FEMA better start finding some money here pretty quickly, since you gave it all away to the illegals coming into our country, lock, stock, and barrel. All right. So, okay, on over to this piece. Migrant caravan departs southern Mexico for the U.S. border. Here they come, folks, just in time. Remember, we're 30 days out till the election, and then they're going to all show up. Now, do note that if they're able to do what it is they did last time, or let's say they weren't successful in doing that, okay, watch what happens between the time of a Trump win and the time he takes office. They will do just like they did with the Iranians and cargoes full of money, cargo planes full of money. There you go. They'll do the same thing here. They'll open up the border, or they'll find some way to get them in. And if it's not the southern border here, they'll fly them straight in, just like this. Okay. You get over here, you look at Omni. This is actually Global X, right? First and foremost, you see how the flights, notice where they're headed there. That one's going into New York, the other up there into Milwaukee. Okay. These are taking illegals, by the way, straight in, right? Up to Seattle, Tacoma, and then into Savannah, it looks like. Last 3 days. And then you can see the borders, right? Now, look at Omni, okay? And you're going to see similar patterns. I still think they're taking them to Hawaii. We know they're taking them up to Alaska. Now, I do see the one Omni flight that comes into Alaska goes over to Asia, so maybe not. Border, border, border. Okay. Mexico, Central America. Right? You can see it. Panama Canal. Into the Caribbean. You got Jamaica. Into Jamaica. Then you got Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. You go down, you got Colombia, goes a little further south. All right. Now you get over here. I'm starting to think they're bringing them up. This could be illegals and not troops. I want to believe it's troops given what's going on over there, but I think they could be, because Ramstein that's a center point. They bring them into Ramstein and then they fly them right out. So, and we've shown that. We've proven it. We watched the flights coming out of Ramstein going straight over to JFK direct, all right? And then notice this one too that kind of goes into Saudi. That's just a little bit north of Mecca. It's up there in Medina. Telling you, Omni is in on it, all right? 100%. Okay. Now we're here to Israeli Times. Now this I want to point out because this is important. You may remember I posted and I talked about the fact that Kamala bragged that they were giving Lebanon a ton of money, hundreds of millions, $365 million, I think it was, or 385, somewhere around there, $385 million into Lebanon. Now read this headline and you tell me what they're doing. This is a Zelensky thing all over again. They're trying to put a dictator in to Israel's north that is going to have a direct impact on Israel. U.S. said they are seeking to install a new Lebanese president. Now, can you imagine any other country telling you that they are seeking to install a president here inside the United States? You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. This is why we are in the situation we're in. This is why our government is broke. This is why we have wars around the world. This is why it's just straight up ridiculous. They're doing it again, folks. They're meeting over in Qatar with Egypt and Saudi Arabia on a proposal to break a deadlock on electing a president. All right. Unreal. They did the same thing, by the way, when they overthrew the previous president to Zelensky and then put Zelensky in. That's stones right there that we can even do that and get away with it. All right. And you got some spa flights coming in. Just notice this one's coming in and then headed to Tupelo, Mississippi. We just had a couple other flights in, 747 that was headed outbound. It was, well, let me see if I can find it on the board, and I'm not seeing the 747. Isn't that crazy? How the flights just get wiped? Unbelievable. Hey, speaking of wiped flights, you may remember, let me just show you this because we're talking about the Army, right? Biggs Army Airfield, etc. I want to show you, we go back over to this. You may remember I was talking about the fact that that this helicopter was in North Carolina and that it came in over an area that they were staging stuff for people that had been displaced, right? And just trying to do what they could to help. And this military helicopter comes rolling in right over the top, prop washes, blows, like sending tents and debris and all kinds of stuff that was in the parking lot everywhere, all right? People got injured, etc. And we said, who in their right mind would do such a thing? Okay, these are people trying to help Americans helping Americans. And the military steps in and says, you know what? We don't like you, and we're gonna basically come in and just harass you with our helicopters. All right? They didn't just do it once here; they did it at other locations. But let me tell you, I can't find the flight anymore. They wiped it. They got a board full of all the flights, and the one that I had found originally doesn't seem to be there. But call sign Fury 147 was the who was behind this. So I looked up. I said, well, okay, who has call sign Fury? Well, let me just tell you, it's tied to a Connecticut Army National Guard, the 169th Aviation Regiment, and it was one of their Blackhawks. They also operate Chinook helicopters, but this is who did it, folks. All right, just got to throw that out there. You can run, but you can't hide. Because if you did it and we can catch it, just like the Nord Stream, we'll show it, all right? So you always wonder, is the military going to be on our side? I think that's your answer right there. Nope. Okay. All right, look at this. This is, we get over here to Dover. Just notice you got an Atlas Air headed out to JFK, coming inbound from JFK. And then you've got it leaving to Ramstein Air Force Base. And then you've got two more 747s coming inbound. Interesting to see where they go, other than we know they're going to Europe. All right. This U.S. Transportation Command, you can see them headed down to Bahrain, coming out of Europe. More on the board than what they're actually showing, too. Many of them over Germany, and then over, one of them looks to be going into Doha. So that's the one you see on the board here. All right. Here are the Brits coming out of the United States. Notice this one's running into Alexandria. The other one's coming out of Alexandria. I don't know what the heck they were up to, but that is usually a 72-hour holding facility. But the Brits are in and out of the United States. They're in and out of RZE Poland, right here, forward operating base, and then in and out of the Middle East. Then we go a little further, And this is Ramstein. You can just see the arrival. This is C-130. I don't know, maybe C-17s right here. That's definitely a C-17. These may be C-130s too. And then that's a camber flight coming in from Dover, 747. We just saw that. And then notice where it's going back to from there. It's going to McGuire, Fort Dix, and Lakehurst. That is a staging ground, or it was, for the Afghanis. So I think you're still bringing them in, quite frankly. All right, and then that's a blue and white coming in from Dusseldorf. But I know they say that the greeting, the welcome center was closed, but I don't know. They could easily just open it back up, probably quickly because it was already there. All right, German Air Force, Washington Dulles to Iceland. All right, not showing in the flight pattern, but what the Germans are doing here in D.C., wondering minds would like to know. Then you get over here, RZE Poland, forward operating base. You can see the Brits are in there. You got Wiesbaden, that's a base commander call sign. You go down a little further, we do have the Belgian Air Force in, the German Air Force in, Canberra flight in. Kind of looking a little busy, quite frankly, over here. Now, I'm going to show you some calls. I think it's just being, we'll just get on into it. Look at this. Kremlin comments on reports about Ukraine ready for a ceasefire. And of course, they called it like they see it. It says here that Moscow has seen no signal from Kiev that it wants a truce, despite a report saying that that's what they want. Look, he's just, Zelensky, sorry, did I call him Zelensky? Deuce Bigelow is, the guy is just trying to do whatever he can to stay alive, all right? If Trump gets in, his days are numbered and his goose is cooked, okay? If he doesn't, then be ready. We'll be going to war with Kamala at the helm. God help us. All right. Now look at this little nugget for you, because this is also just one more reason why our government needs to find something else to do. So Poland secures a $3 billion U.S. loan to buy Apache helicopters. So they came to us and basically said, look, we want to buy your helicopters, but we don't have any money. Would you loan us the money? I'd love to see what the interest is on that loan. My guess is it's zero. And it probably is one of those, you can pay it back whenever you get a chance. Don't worry about it. It's just, it's a loan, but we're basically going to give you the helicopters, right? You know, they'll never probably make your first payment on that. Okay. And then NATO, I'm just going to show you what were they doing in Oklahoma? What are they doing in St. Louis? They're leaving now, and I don't know where they're headed, but they're only at 7,900 feet, probably into D.C., if I had to guess. Yeah, Washington Dulles. So they come out of Cincinnati, they go to Washington. Come out of, that's NATO in the United States. All right. Well, actually, I covered it. Went a little bit over. I do apologize for that. But look, at the end of the day, we are, we've got confirmation. The longer that we look, the more we look, the deeper we look, the more we find that the United States government and other governments around the world are actually modifying and manipulating the weather. They're doing it on big things like tornadoes and hurricanes, which you just see the outcome from this. So it's, they tell us that we're conspiracy theorists or truthers or whatever it may be, but we got the documents. And so you can't deny it. We've got the patents. We got our hands on the patents. We know that they are up to it. We know they're doing it. And those are just the ones we can find and see. So buckle up, folks. I think we're in for one heck of a ride, because whoever's got their hand on the lever for generating and moving these storms and making them intensify, like the one we saw, I personally think that they cranked it up and then they realized, holy smokes, we just this thing is going to be it's going to blow through the Cat 5 category. It's gusts to 226 miles an hour. They're like, how high can we get it? But I think they realized very quickly, hey, if we do this, this is going to be bad. And so maybe they throttled it back. We can still do a pretty big impact, take everybody's eyes off of Kamala for a little while, right? At least they're going to try to, through things like this. So yeah, I mean, we're in that window, 30 days, and I told you it's going to get crazy. And this is just one thing that I don't think anybody was even expecting. So yeah, buckle up. Stay frosty. Keep that powder dry, folks. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out.
In the heat of the moment, precision and excellence are paramount. It's a creed we live by, both in service and beyond. Our beans are sourced from the finest regions, roasted with perfection, and packed with care. Whether you prefer whole beans or ground coffee, Operator Espresso delivers a cup that's unmatched. Whether you're sharing stories with fellow veterans or gearing up for a demanding day, Operator Espresso is there to fuel your mission. Operator Espresso is more than just coffee. It's a tribute to excellence. Join us in our mission. Experience the difference. Taste the honor.